Hey, folks, welcome to On the Right Side podcast once again. Here in July at the America First Warehouse in Ronkonkoma on Long Island. If you've never been here, it is an absolutely amazing forum for patriots. In the second half of our discussion, I'm going to have as my co-host Joe the Box, who's the proprietor of this amazing institution here. My name is Steve Levy. I'm a co-host of this program. I'm a former Suffolk County executive. I am the former New York State Assemblyman and the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Cost-Effective Government. David Zaire, my usual co-host, is away on assignment in D.C., but we are so lucky because as a substitute co-host for half of the show today is the amazing Nick Giordano, professor of politics in Suffolk Community College, and more importantly, the host of the PAS podcast, which people can see online. So, Nick, thanks. Welcome back to the show. We miss you. We love to have you.
Pleasure being here, Steve. Looking forward to the conversation with everything going on.
So much going on, right? It's incredible. Like,
it's insane.
Where do we start? I got to start, for me, at the top, which what I think is one of the biggest bombshells in history, and I don't understate that. It's Tulsi Gabbard's report that was issued from the NIS claiming that the Obama administration perpetrated a coup against the Trump administration. Not just some political spin or meandering, but an actual coup. And I've been saying for the longest time that this is one of the most, if not the most, unreported story in American history. I mean, you talk about Watergate was about a cheap break-in into the opposition, and the big crime from the president was the cover-up. All right, that was a really bad thing. But this was the president possibly engaged at the top, trying to disable his successor by manipulating data, changing reports affirmatively 180 degrees, going from internal memos from the intelligence agents saying there's no Russian collusion with Trump. That was going to be put into the president's briefing, official documentation, the next day, but Obama stops it, according to this report, and gives the directives to his minions. We're talking about Clapper and Comey and the rest of them. Change the report to make it appear that there is this collusion, and Tulsi Gabbard says this was a coup. You agree?
I do agree, and we're finally getting light shined on the actual internal document. So it's important for people to understand out there that this isn't Steve Levy and Nick Giordano saying this. This is actual government documents that have now been declassified and released to the public that we can see with our own eyes and ears. And it validates pretty much everything that I've been and many others have been complaining about since 2016. This was one of the biggest conspiracies in American history. You had all the intelligence analysis saying that Russia doesn't have the capabilities to manipulate votes, to get involved in the election. They may put out some posts on Facebook and try and influence things that way, which Russia has tried to influence elections going all the way back to the Cold War. They used to do it just
and we do it to them,
right? Absolutely. It's name
not that they have elections.
But the idea of actual collusion with a campaign in order to, let's say, steal an election was non-existent. They said Russia doesn't have the capabilities, nor is Putin directing it or looking to do that.
Other than, we got to say, $100,000 in Facebook ads.
With misspellings and memes
right,
and
as
stuff
though
like
that was going to shift an election.
So this was all the intelligence analysis preceding the election,
right,
going right through the election, all the way up until December 7th. And then on December 8th, something interesting happens. December 8th, 2016, President Obama calls an emergency meeting with his national security team, Comey, Clapper, and all them, Brennan, one of the biggest fish in this, and they decide that they're not going to use that intel analysis for the next presidential daily brief.
In fact, they buried it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what they did was now they're starting to push this dossier, the Steele dossier that was funded by the Clinton machine, where it was all made up information. It was wrong. It was biased information.
Which they refuse to pursue with their investigation.
Correct.
So they refuse to go after Clinton to investigate her collusion, absolute collusion
with a
the
foreign
Russians,
person, with a
and
foreign
then
national.
make up collusion against Trump.
Correct. And this is something that should be unacceptable in a public life. Listen, this is much bigger than Trump. People try and make everything
Right.
as if it's all about Trump. This goes well beyond Trump, because what's to stop them from doing it to the next president? I mean, they neutered the presidency for his first 2.5 years in office because it led to the Mueller investigation and all that. And so what's to stop them the next time from pushing it forward? And now they can learn from their mistakes and do it in a way where they actually get away with it and they're successful. Imagine you had someone that was weaker than President Trump, that wasn't able to withstand all the arrows.
Yeah.
What could that have done? And it shows you how powerful the bureaucracy has gotten, how the bureaucracy
The
now
deep
operates.
state, right? The
Well, it
deep state.
operates as the fourth branch of government that's independent of the legislative and executive branch, and that operates outside constitutional boundaries without checks and balances. A lot of people are saying, well, we need to target President Obama for treason and blah, blah, blah. Listen, treason is not happening. Treason's off the table.
Right.
And I could tell you the statute for treason is very clear. It has to be an act of war against the United States, working with foreign governments to overthrow and topple the United States. The only person in American history ever to be charged with treason was Burr, who attempted to overthrow Thomas Jefferson.
Right,
and
right.
Pretty much admitted it. Didn't say it out loud, but pretty much. And even he was found not guilty.
All right, so it's not treason, but accountability and exposure is really important here.
Well, I think
So-
the exposure is critical.
Right.
Right? Because for years it was conspiracy theory if you believed in all this stuff. Well, now it's not conspiracy. Now we have the documents. And not only do we have the documents, Tulsi Gabbard is releasing more documents later today or tomorrow. So we're going to continue to learn more and more about this. And that's just the Director of National Intelligence.
right.
So there's documents at the CIA pertaining to this. We need John Ratcliffe to start releasing those. Documents at the FBI. We need Kash Patel to start releasing those to be able to really put everything together.
And now we have a lot of documents, including Brennan's own words, an internal document saying there's no link, okay? Then let's not forget, we already had out there Peter Strzok's emails with his paramour, Lisa Page, total Trump haters from the FBI, saying there's no there to the whole hurricane investigation. But you have to ask, why was this happening? Certainly partisanship is a part of it. But I think a lot of it goes back to Obama's elitism and him feeling that he is the enlightened, professorial, no offense to the professor over here, know-it-all who's on the moral high ground, who saw Trump as part of the unwashed. He's a danger. It's what I call the Valkyrie effect. Valkyrie being the plot against Hitler, where his insiders said, this guy is going to destroy the world, we have to kill him. They were labeling Trump as Hitler, which then gave them the excuse to do illegal stuff.
Well, remember that there was nothing there until Trump won.
Right.
So if Trump didn't win the election, they would have said, oh, we had everything under control. There was no collusion or anything like that. But Trump did the unexpected. He did what a lot of people thought was impossible. He won the presidential election. And that to them set off a panic. And the reason that I separate out Obama is because President Obama was an elected official. He's one man in a moment of time that goes away. Whereas the bureaucracy remains. That to me is the much bigger threat, is the bureaucracy, because these individuals have anointed themselves as the guardians of what they deem as democracy.
Exactly.
And they felt, it's clear from their intentions and their actions, that the American people made the wrong choice.
Right.
And so it's up to the
that
bureaucracy
was the insurance policy,
to correct it.
right?
Exactly.
That was the insurance policy that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page talked about when she was going ballistic. This guy's not going to win, is he? And Strzok said, don't worry.
We have the insurance
We
policy.
have the insurance policy to deal with this. It really is totally remarkable. And, you go one step further. Remember that Obama met with Joe Biden and his inner circle as well. They entrapped Michael Flynn
Correct.
on specious terms. The Logan Act, which is probably unconstitutional, but these guys sat around the table say, how do we get Flynn? Well, he's starting to negotiate with the Russians before he's in office. Well, every administration coming in negotiates and talks to the other side. John Kerry was never prosecuted for dealing with the Iranians when he wasn't in office. Nixon's people did this, but they wanted to get him, and they propped this up.
Well, let's not forget about President Obama's executive order at the very end that allowed certain names to be unmasked and shared with other intel agencies. And that is really the problem, this idea of intelligence. But beyond that, we need accountability. But what's more important is that Congress starts taking action.
Right.
We need reforms, legislation that goes through Congress that strips these agencies of their powers to ever abuse it again. If President Trump, he could sign executive orders, he can make some changes, but what happens when the next administration comes in, or the administration? The only way to prevent this from happening again is to defang these agencies through acts of Congress, and that's why Congress needs to get involved.
Like a church commission that had to deal with an abusive CIA back in the 70s. It really is remarkable. And let's not forget that they had lawyers within the FBI lying to the Pfizer judges to allow for them to get a warrant
and manipulating intelligence
to spy on the Trump administration. Trump said he was spied on. Leslie Stahl said, this is 60 Minutes. No, it wasn't. And the fact is, they were spying on him. So listen, folks, this is really enlightening stuff. Come back in the next segment. We're going to talk about Stephen Colbert getting the axe. It's going to be fun. Be back with us on the right side.
Broken families torn apart. This is injustice. If you've been wronged by the system, join us. Don't stand alone. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. The justice system in the United States should be transparent, fair, and open to everybody and accessible. Unfortunately, many times that's not the case. At Americans for Legal Reform, we are here to help. Join the movement. Visit AmericansForLegalReform.com and help reform the system before it fails you.
My name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangela. Please check my art at www.megalangela.vip.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
It's Tuesday here at the America First Warehouse. I am Joe the Box.
And I'm John the Blanket.
Freddie Rubino here from the America First Warehouse, coming to you live, the most patriotic venue in the land.
Welcome to Right for America.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to Tune In Tuesday of the Patriots Podcast, live streaming every Tuesday night at 7:30.
Another edition of On the Right Side here, and you can catch us weekly, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
And welcome to Liberty's Cage, where we rip the veil off America's broken justice system. Prisons that crush spirits, courts that bend to power, and a society that shuns people who have paid their price.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kevin Downey Jr. Podcast. Be free, stay free.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast. I am your host, Steve Levy, former Suffolk County Executive, New York State Assembly member, and the director of the Center for Cost-Effective Government. David Zare, our usual co-host, is on assignment in D.C., but we're really fortunate because we've got a winner tonight here, and that is Professor Nick Giordano from Suffolk Community College and the host of the PSA podcast. So, Nick, we just had a blast running for 15 minutes on the coup against Trump by the Obama administration. Let's go to the more lighter side here. Poor Stephen Colbert I don't know if he's getting the axe. He's allowed to stay on for several more months. But now you've got the left-wing media going berserk. This is authoritarianism. This is cancel culture, blah, blah, blah. Hey, newsflash, Stephen Colbert. You know what happens when you get on the air and say to a million viewers, well, you don't even have a million viewers. Let's say a few 100,000 viewers. Hey, my boss is a crook. You know what happens? You get canned, man. You get canned. Just ask Tucker Carlson, who's on the other side of the political spectrum, who got canned from Fox. Some people tried to tie it to the settlement with Dominion, but it was actually because they found emails where he was trashing his bosses. Do that, and you're going to get canned. But here they are whining over Stephen Colbert as though it was some kind of a coup by Trump, some kind of illegal agreement with Paramount and CBS to get rid of him as part of the settlement deal that they had with the 60 Minutes fiasco. Your thoughts, Nick Giordano?
Well, let's be honest. This is coming from a party that locked people in their home for up to 2 years, kept kids out of school, forced people to wear masks, destroyed livelihoods for anyone who didn't get the shot, silenced and censored millions of Americans on all the social media platforms. The same people that tried to oust a duly elected president through Russian collusion, the same people that targeted parents at school board meetings and called traditional Catholics domestic terrorists. They wanted to create the Disinformation Governance Board, which is nothing but a ministry of
with the
truth.
Mary Poppins in charge of determining what is proper speech and what is not acceptable speech.
They threatened to pull the FCC license off of Fox News. So these are the same people that now want to scream authoritarianism because Stephen Colbert got fired.
Right.
Let's look at two things. First of all, Stephen Colbert is not funny. That's
boring.
He's not a funny guy.
Predictable.
Listen, you can make political jokes and you could still be funny.
Like,
He's
I'll
not.
say Stewart is at least funny. You know,
I don't know who
Jon
Ozzie Stewart is, but I'll go along with that.
Jon Stewart, you know, from the Daily
Yes.
You know, he's at least funny. He's disgustingly liberal, but okay, you know, there's some
Well,
fun
that's the thing.
to his
Dave
show.
Chappelle.
Right,
He's
right,
not a
right.
Trump supporter, but he's funny.
He plays both
And that's the
sides.
thing. When you look at Stephen Colbert, all he did was seem angry that Trump was president, that Trump was even being discussed. And then, to me, once he did that COVID vax stance to try and
Mm-hmm.
get people vaccinated, he should have been axed right there and then because that was just pathetic propaganda he was
And
pushing.
Nick is losing $40 million
Exactly.
a year.
Well, that was my second point.
Okay.
$40 million a year loss. How long should Paramount sustain that as Paramount is not doing well as a company, as they have to rebrand, as people are cutting the cord of cable TV and nobody's watching these late shows? Greg Gutfeld on Fox is getting a much higher ratings.
And he's not
than
making
these
$20
losers.
million a year for that show.
Definitely not. And so when you look at it,
with a staff of like $100 million, no exaggeration.
Absolutely. And that's why Colbert was terminated. And he still gets to run till May of 2026, I believe.
Which, by the way, if I can interject, Kevin O'Leary was on CNN last night who said, if Paramount is smart, they'll dump him right now for what he did yesterday or the day before, staring into the camera and saying, hey, President Trump, F you, okay? That's grounds for firing him.
It's got to
and they
be
don't
a
have to
breach
pay
of
him.
contract.
Right.
You know, even someone like me. So I'm lucky enough to be blessed with tenure, so it makes it really difficult for the college to
There's
terminate
still
me.
limits.
But there are limits. And in my union contract, there are clauses that state that I can't go out there and publicly bash the college and hurt the college's reputation and blah, blah, blah. Colbert has to live within the contract. And yes, they should fire him. They should terminate him today. And they should just not put him on air. And then the lawyers can figure it out behind the scenes. Happens all the time.
Well, this is the confusion amongst the left. I think it's deliberate, where they don't understand or they purvey a false impression of what cancel culture is, okay? This was not cancel culture. Cancel culture is when a bank debanks you for your political views. And this was happening during the Biden administration. Melania Trump got her bank account frozen after January 6th. Kanye West was debanked from a bank because they didn't like his political views. Doctors who were questioning the COVID vaccine were debanked. People lost their jobs because of their political views. That's different than an employer saying, you are not going to be able to take my place of business and turn it into your political show. So, for instance, if a bank tells its employees, you can't be a teller with a T-shirt that says, pro-choice people or pro-life people suck, okay? Or Trump sucks or Biden sucks, because they don't want to alienate half of their audience or half of their consumers, okay? That's not cancel culture. That's the freedom, the First Amendment right of the employer to control his employment grounds. That's different than a person on their own communications privately professing a view and then getting axed.
Well,
right?
Simply put, cancel culture is the destruction of someone's livelihood, their economic livelihood based on their political belief system, which is much different. Colbert is free to do whatever he wants, say whatever he wants, go to any other network, start his own show, whatever it may be. And this was a legitimate business transaction. But to the left, they are very good at narratives and controlling narratives, and they're very good at playing the victim. And so now Colbert is going out there playing the victim that he was terminated, not because he was unfunny and he was losing $40 million. Now he's trying to say that it's because of Trump and the authoritarian and this fascist dictator wanted me fired, so Paramount fired him. It's a complete ruse and distraction. But that's what the left does best, is they distract, they want to control the narrative, they want to push this idea that they're always victims, that they're unfortunate victims, and they don't care about truth.
Well, soon I think we're going to see Kimmel gone and maybe Jimmy Fallon as well. And not because
Kimmel
of their
wasn't
views.
He was funny on The Man Show. I mean, it's amazing how he did a 180. He was great on The Man Show.
Who was really politically incorrect at the time,
Absolutely.
by the way,
but
with
then
Adam
he lost his
Carolla.
cojones, and I don't know
But
what the hell happened.
that's a dying business because you don't have those college kids watching this stuff anymore at 11:30 at night, which was the case in our era.
But it's also because they took sides.
Absolutely
Okay,
true.
so when
you alienated half the Johnny Carson didn't, and that's why Johnny Carson ruled.
didn't.
Right.
Jay Leno didn't.
did not.
Even David Letterman. Everyone knew he was left.
He was a big lib, but he played it,
When he was doing
both
his
sides.
show, he was actually funny.
Right.
And he would
right.
make fun of everyone. He would make fun of both political sides. And he just knew how to do it.
Now it's all
this
propaganda.
New crop. Go on MSNBC and get a talk show. I mean, that's all you want, essentially. You just want to spew your political propaganda out
Hey,
there.
3 minutes left in this segment. We're talking with Professor Nick Giordano of Suffolk Community College. We've got to talk about big news this morning. President Trump announces a big tariff deal with the Japanese, okay? We don't know all the details right now. It just says 15% tariff for those things coming in from Japan. We don't know yet how our markets are going to be opened up in Japan, and that's going to be key. But it's also a major investment of $50 billion from the Japanese in different things here. It's yet to be seen how this works out, but it's looking pretty good, and the market is liking it. And all this doom and gloom about the tariffs were going to crater the economy. Here's a really important stat I just saw today. June had the first surplus in the federal government for a month since 2016. Why? Because of some of the cuts that came through and the tariff money coming in. So rather than destroying the economy, the economy's doing really well so far. We'll see how it plays out. But
and I think that a lot of the analysis when it comes to tariffs is wrong. Now, I'm not a big fan of tariffs. I'll state that right off the bat. I'm not a fan.
Depends
of it.
how they're done.
Exactly. But the logic they were using was going back to the 1920s, 1930s, and how the tariffs worked back then, or in the late 1800s. The economy is completely different.
Right.
It doesn't operate the same
It's
way.
a world economy now.
Not only is it a world economy, America wasn't the dominant consumer base at the time. We are now the dominant consumer base of
need
the world.
our consumers.
Correct. You know, you go back to the 30s, 90% of the goods that were made in the United States were purchased by people in the United States. Now made
in the
everything's
United
different.
States.
So everything's changed. And that's why I think that all the tariff predictions have been wrong. With that being said, we do need to see how the tariff situation does flush out.
Yeah.
For years, governments around the world have abused us when it has come to economics. And we allowed it to happen during the Cold War because we wanted to get our countries on our side as opposed to the Soviet side.
And they were decimated, and we wanted them to build up
The
at
Cold
our
War-
expense, which was fine for a while.
Absolutely. But the Cold War ended a long time ago. And since the Cold War ended, every president has tried to force these countries to purchase more American goods.
And they said,
thumbed their nose.
yeah.
Even the Allies.
Exactly.
So now you have a president that's actually hitting this head on, calling out the nations publicly, and we're seeing traction, we're seeing movement, and it could be really beneficial to the United States.
Just like we saw with NATO's contribution, the individual
Correct.
NATO countries
Absolutely.
to their own self-defense. All the presidents before Trump talked a good game, did nothing. Trump finally drew the line in the sand and say, pony up, or things aren't going to go as they did. Hey, Nick Giordano, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have Joe the Box come in for the second half, but we loved your input. Please come
Thank you
back.
for having me.
All right, thanks, folks. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com.
Good morning. It's me, Joe the Box, wearing my Border 911 hat signed by Tom Holman, Rodney Scott, and Sarah Carter. The country has had enough. The American Horror Story is over. Border 911. Tom Holman is coming through. My brother's son, my friends' children. We're done with it. 100,000 were lost lives every single year. God bless you, Tom.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
The Right Side Podcast, coming to you from the America First warehouse on Long Island. I am your co-host, Steve Levy, the former Suffolk County executive, New York State Assemblyman, and the director of the Center for Cost-Effective Government. And we had Nick Giordano as my co-host for the last two segments because David Zare, our normal host, regular host, I shouldn't say normal. He's not too normal, is he, Joe? He's down in D.C. But now for the second half, we've got the one, the only, the man, the proprietor of the America First Warehouse, Joe the Box. Joe, thanks for being with me.
Steve Levy, what an impressive list of pronouns you have.
It's not they, them, I'll tell you that, buddy.
No, but it's a lot of titles. You've done a lot. I'm also very honored to have you here at the America First Warehouse. You're a big support of us. You seem to have a lot of people following you, so I'm very happy to hear that, because there's a time in life where the people a little bit older than you and I, Steve, don't really know how to do the social media, right?
Yeah. That's me. I'm not the best at it, but I leave it to you guys here at the First America Warehouse to get the word out. And we just started a month ago. We're doing really well with this show, getting a lot of hits. Thank God.
It is a wonderful opportunity. The thing is that there's no outlet for truth in media, right? Everybody
not in the mainstream media, anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The mainstream media, and we, the people, have just gotten so sick and tired of it. So you only get the truth here, right, Steve Levy? You're not going to steer us down a false road. You've been in government. You know how corrupt they are, and probably quite a battle yourself.
It has been a battle, trying to take on a lot of these anti-American forces out there. And for so long, Joe, you had no place to go as a traditional American who didn't want to buy into the propaganda and the crap coming out of the left. And Trump changed everything by saying, hey, I'm going on Twitter or X. I'm going on Truth Social. He created his own. I'm going around the mainstream media and just blew it wide open for places like Real America's Voice. And this platform here, you've got so many shows that come out. And listen, I'm not going to be so arrogant to say, and we're called On the Right Side, we're always right, we're never wrong. But we're going to give you a perspective that simply will not be able to get on the air, an ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, right? It's for all of the other half of America that has a different perspective.
It's really great because I love it. I love watching them. And, Steve, what you were just saying is one thing I have to say about the whole situation, and I don't think anybody can really debate this, but Trump was right. Trump was right.
Yeah, in so many ways.
Trump was right down the line.
Well, he's had so many wins in this new administration. And another place I think he's going to be proven to be right was with the Department of Education, where year after year, Republican presidents said, this is this doesn't do anything, this agency. It started in the 70s as a payback to the teachers' unions who endorsed Jimmy Carter. It ballooned to a budget of $250 billion, a staff of 4,000, and President Trump and many conservatives are saying, what the hell do you do? Since you guys have been, you don't fund education. Education is primarily funded from your local property tax and state income tax. What do you guys do other than build up a bureaucracy? So the Republicans said, hey, let's take that money and redirect it. How about to regular parents out there who want to be able to send their kid to a school of their choice rather than being trapped in a poorly performing, violent school, right? Doesn't that make sense what the president is trying to do?
Well, common sense seems to be almost everything Trump's doing. And it's really nice to see it. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The school system, how it got so bloated with the Department of Education, the forcing of these crazy
books. I mean, where did those ideas, the DUI, DEI? I mean, it's so despicable. Fortunately for me, I got in the cusp of reality before we lost everything. And I have 4 great, fine young men from 35 years old to 25 years old. There's, 4 men. And, they got a great education. And I got to tell you, probably because my wife, the first lady of the warehouse, Tony, the first lady, spent so much time with them. And she also homeschooled them on our... Wait a minute. No. They went to the public school, the Smithtown East.
Which is good
so
school.
So they had that, and they had that friendship and grace. But when they were home, my wife taught them religion, taught them all about God, morals. All right, there was a structure that they had to come and sit with. Then they got heavily involved. Here's, I think, the saving grace for my children was the church, the youth group. But as soon as the youngest one went to the end, it was over.
Yeah.
The pandemic came in, the lies, the woke community. The moment they lied and stole the election, Steve, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Well, Joe, you hit on it because conservatives understand that the key to a well-educated young man or woman really stems from the home. It's the values that are instilled in you by your parents, not the elitists within the school districts, but by your parents. Values such as work hard and be rewarded, sacrifice now for the future. It's very similar to the book called The Tiger Mom that was written by a woman, Amy Chu, years ago, about the Asian culture, where, whether it's a Christian culture or Asian culture, it's a culture that says, work hard, be disciplined, respect your elders, respect your teachers. What we found the liberals do is say, nah, that's all bunk. Just throw more money into the schools, and that will result in better schools. What a bunch of garbage. Right. We've quadrupled the amount of money going to these schools, and the scores go down. You got it right, Joe. Your family's got it right, and that's we need more fathers, more mothers involved with their kids, right?
Well, I mean, it really comes from the creation of our great country. Was on the basis and foundation of one nation under God. There was a belief in goodness and trying to be good at least, and living a good lifestyle. What's happening now, and it blows me away, but this Muslim community that's moving into the country that was brought in by Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Just so many of them. It's when I hear these cities are singing, I don't mean to go off the track on you, but again, just to stay focused on where we were at, Steve. My sons, they went through that program and they, became out, and they're very sophisticated young men. And they were because of their parents. But once they got into school, things change.
Yeah.
I've seen great parents that are very pro-America, very
and the
MAGA,
kids get
very
indoctrinated from the professors.
And I've seen them lose their children at a school.
Sure. Well, regarding the Muslim community, I got to tell you, you have these outliers like these creepy guys coming here on student visas like Khalid and downgrading America and the Jewish population. But I'll tell you, the large majority of the Muslim population, what I found, they are just like the Asian population, very much sacrifice now, get a good education. So the Muslim American citizens really have a very good culture that promotes education. But what we're doing, Joe, I think you were alluding to, is we're importing the third world. And as Stephen Miller said, if you don't vet who's coming in here and you get pro-Hamas crazy people coming to our country on a visa, you have no right to be here on a visa. This guy Khalid, you should have to profess to us that you love America and that you will speak against our enemies such as Hamas. And Secretary of State Rubio has every right to throw your ass out of here if you won't. Don't you agree?
Well, I agree, and I think Rubio did throw him out, Steve. But
he's still here on the courts.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
suing us now
I
for
heard he was
$20 million.
speaking in Congress every day. Oh, Joe, he's Khalid. He's speaking. I don't care what he has to say. Why is he there? How did he get there? Tom Homan, he's in Congress today. Go get him.
Speaking of Tom Homan, did you see Homan and Kristi Noem at a press conference earlier in the week. Not only that, it's every day, but about that agent, that border agent in New York City, attacked by an illegal immigrant who had a rap sheet the length of your arm, was thrown out of here, came back, and the Biden administration opened the door and they released him right back into America. That man's near death, that border agent's near death, is in the hands of Joe Biden, I think.
Joe Biden didn't remember the 13 soldiers that were murdered at the gates in Afghanistan with that withdrawal. He didn't remember, what his speech was supposed to be. It was not him that was in there running it, and we know now that it was actually Barack Hussein Obama.
You know, what Holman has been doing is tremendous. And it's not only because they've stopped the flow over the border, but you look at the new hires in America today. Joe, under Biden, the majority of the jobs created in America went to immigrants.
I know.
Now they're going to native-born citizen Americans. Amazing. Wonderful. What a president can do, what a change in a presidency can do, right?
Yeah, all you needed was a new president. But you know what? The whole thing, one beginning to end, it's so sad what's happening. But I think the homeschool, every day Trump is out there fighting for us. I believe in him. If you're a Democrat, I'm sorry, they want you to be inclusive. I hear, Steve, we want everybody to watch it. We're saying, sit here as a Democrat, come on Steve Levy's show, and you explain to him why Donald Trump is wrong. Can you make that happen, Steve? You got anyone like that?
I'll tell you, we'll get some of the opposition on here. That'll be quite a to-do. I love to prove them wrong, as you have been doing with all of your guests over these years, Joe. Thanks for what you do. Folks, come back to On the Right Side, our last segment in a minute.
And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the U.S. government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further.
This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech going forward.
In the shadows of power, a hidden war rages, fought not with guns or bombs, but with information. In the quiet corridors of government, behind closed doors, and on screens that light up our lives, a new kind of control is taking root. The truth is no longer something we can trust. It's something we must fight to find. This is the story of a nation in crisis, a country that once prided itself on freedom and democracy, now teetering on the edge of an unseen abyss, a place where dissent is silenced, where voices are erased, and where the very foundations of liberty are being rewritten before our eyes. Big tech has aligned itself with the deep state, and they have a plan to shape reality, control what you see, and decide what you believe. In this digital age, the line between truth and manipulation has all but vanished, and those who dare challenge the narrative, they are erased, censored, forgotten. On January 6, 2021, the people rose, angry, disillusioned, demanding answers. They were branded as threats, insurgents, terrorists. But what if the real threat isn't the people in the streets? What if the true insurgency lies within the very system that claims to protect us? What if the greatest danger to democracy is the one behind the curtain?
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. the America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Hey folks, Steve Levy. This is Joe the Box, the man who created this incredible environment we're in the America First warehouse on Long Island. If you are, and we know we see people from all over the country, Joe, here watch this show. If you come to the New York area, you got to make the trip. It's 50 miles out of New York City, but this thing is a museum for patriots. It is unbelievable. I'm Steve Levy, your co-host of On the Right Side. David Zera, our regular co-host, is normal host.
He's a normal co-host.
He's an Abby normal. As if you know Young Frankenstein movie, you'll know what I mean by Abby normal, right? He's covering things in D.C. And I'm here with Joe the Box, the proprietor of this great place, and we've been having great discussion on all topical issues of the moment. And a couple things to talk about, Joe. Just came out today. It's really interesting. 3 days ago, I do regular columns for Newsmax. I get some of my stuff published in the Washington Times, the Washington Examiner. I put in an article saying, you know what we have to do after all this talk about the SALT deduction for, if you're in New York, it's a big deal to you. If you're in Tennessee, it doesn't mean anything to you. But, you were able to deduct your state and local income tax, or if you're federal, you couldn't do it. It was capped at $10,000. They upped it to $40,000. So such a hullabaloo about that. And I said, stop paying so much attention to that. You know what you got to pay attention to? A person in New York who has a home that was once valued at $200,000. Average home now in Nassau County and Long Island going for $800,000, okay? So you sell your home, you're whacked with capital gains, right? Yeah, anything over $500,000 as a couple, you're paying capital gains on that. As a single, it's anything over $250,000. So I recommended, hey, those numbers were put in place back in 1997. You think inflation had an impact on homes? So I said, why don't we raise that amount from $250,000 to $500,000 for a single, from $500,000 to $1 million for a couple? Because 46% of New Yorkers are now impacted with the capital gains when they sell their home. And lo and behold, just like last night, the president comes out with, hey, we should do away with capital gains on home sales. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose picture is on the wall over there, she came here as a guest one day to the America First warehouse. She's putting in the legislation to do away with capital gains on these homes, and one of the reasons being that it's stagnated with home sales, or at least with home inventory, and young people can't afford a home anymore because a lot of the old-timers don't want to sell, in part because of the capital gains. I'll tell you, I know we didn't read my article, but just want to see what you think about this idea and what Trump's doing on that front.
Well, I am going to tell you that it took a businessman to make a difference in this country. He runs the country like he runs a company. Waste has got to go. I can't stand waste. I see it all the time, and it's just hard since I waste most of the money myself.
Well, you got your wife Tony to keep a hold over you as to what
the
you're
first
doing
lady.
with this,
Yes, she likes.
But in your home or your business, if you spend like a drunken sailor, you're going to have consequences, right?
Right.
Your business is going to go out,
Yeah.
but not in the federal government. Just throw on more debt, which is why they need a balanced budget amendment.
One of the most important things, my father was a great businessman. He slept in a car until he passed recently, and he sold his 100-foot boat. I mean, what a great American story from sleeping in a car to how he left. And he was smart. And his most important rules to me was, Joe, your word means everything. When you say something, you got to do it, whether you like it or whether you don't. And the other thing is your credit. Your credit is very important.
Right.
He would watch his credit score, and I thought it was kind of silly, but it really wasn't, because to him that was important. And whenever he wanted to buy a building or sell a building, and when it came to the capital gains, and he went from house to house, because the capital gains, is that necessarily commercial as well, or is it?
Well, the exemption is just for your primary residence.
Okay.
So, but the the important point is,
But
the
if you
capital
bought
gains-
another house within a year or whatever, you repurposed that.
Well,
would get that.
with a 1031 exchange, when it was a rental, because I've done this myself, I had a rental, and I had a big capital gain because I bought it back in 2001, right? So it tripled in value. So I wanted to sell my place in Albany, which I had when I was an assembly member.
Right.
But if I sold it and didn't do anything with those proceeds, I would get
Slammed.
slammed with the
40,
capital gain.
50%.
But the 1031 allowed me to buy another rental property of like or more money, and I was able to shield getting hit with that brutal capital gain. You
Right.
know, so let's hope that this will be helpful. But you know what's interesting? I know a lot of people who sold their businesses, Joe, over the last couple of years, and I told them, do you know if Joe Biden had his way, he and the Democrats were going to increase the capital gains from about 15 to 20%, which Clinton and Newt Gingrich and the Republicans put into effect in the 1990s. He wanted it to go up to your personal income level, which would be in the high 30%, okay? Plus the state, you'd be paying almost 50% on the sale of your business. It wipes out everything you ever worked for. Thank God they didn't get their way, and now you have a common sense president in there who's not going to allow that to happen, you know?
And I love that they continue to try and knock down what his thoughts were. Remember the whole tariff?
God.
Tariffs are going to take.
We were supposed to be in a depression right now.
Or there was it was only one day in the whole thing where Trump made an executive decision, and right away, how's your 401k, right?
Yeah,
So, I
they
mean,
they were making fun
How's
of,
it-
know, we had a dip for about a month, right?
What was it, a
And
month
now
or
it's-
a week?
Yeah. Now I was telling everybody, buy, and I did.
Yeah,
and
good
I'm
for you.
glad I did, because now we're at record levels.
Yeah,
you know?
we rode past that, just sitting on it and watching it, and it is pretty amazing. But yes, look at my 401k. Look at
Yep.
the savings that the people that work for me. I'm trying to help them, gather as well. The country is in the good direction, Steve Levy, and I think for the first time in your many years, 40 years of politics, I'm going to say as
Yeah,
a
that's about
guess.
right. Yeah.
Do you see a turning point here? Do you see the movement and?
Yeah, I think the economy is ready to really take off like a rocket because the tax cuts were extended. People are going to have that extra money in their hands. The uncertainty with that is gone. We still have a little ways to go to get through the tariffs, the negotiated trade agreements with the EU. Japan came out today. You get a couple more. Once they're put to bed and the uncertainty is out of the way, people are going to say, wow, there's deregulation. Wow, the energy costs have come down dramatically due to the Trump policies. We're ready to invest. We have billions and billions of dollars coming from overseas wanting to invest here, in large part because of some of the tariffs that would take effect if they sold their products. But if they build them here, they won't have to pay have the tariff blacks on, which is why they're all coming here to build now. I think it's going to be tremendous for employment, and it's going to be tremendous for the stock market and our disposable income, Joe.
Yeah, I think anybody that honestly has to debate on where Trump was at, it's all about Trump's derangement syndrome, to be honest with you. Because if they really saw and felt what's happening, we the people and the average American, we see it. And we see the truth, and we see how we've lived our lives. Donald Trump is going to bring it back to the raw America first, the America, the way it was supposed to be.
Unleash American ingenuity, right? And we saw it work. Wow. This isn't just guessing. In 2017, Trump's tax bill passed. Not only did they get more money into the coffers as a result, but the economy was booming. If you ask people, would you want to go back to the 2019 economy? Say yes in a second. It was only COVID that intervened that really messed everything up.
Yeah, I've been just trying to organize my business and going through the financials and where it started in 2016, 17, each year all the way across, and just so people understand, in the trucking business alone, in Trump's first term, where they really tried to, we're learning how they stifled them and shut them down so much. Right. But fuel went from $5 a gallon to me under Barack to
Trump brought it down to almost $2.
Trump won.
Yeah, Trump won. So
Then it skyrocketed again with Biden.
Yes, but my point is that here we were running our business, spending almost $5,000 a week in diesel fuel in these trucks to keep them rolling. And under Trump, he cut that down to like $2 a gallon.
Wow.
So it was $3 a gallon per week to the bottom line of the company. It made it so easy to operate. All of a sudden, good revenues and good profits, that's when you really need Doge.
And for the little guys, not just the big business owners.
I was a little guy.
But I'm talking about the average mom and pop homeowner. It's not only what they're paying at the pump, it's their home heating oil.
It's everything.
I mean, you could save $1,000, $2,000 just with the home heating oil cost coming down. What a difference. So listen, Joe, this has been an amazing show today. Such an honor to have you to join me. Tell us in a minute we have left any events coming up, what you're hoping for, your goals with this amazing warehouse. You got a minute.
I got to tell you, I'm just blown away by the power of God and how he's moving America in the direction that it is. Friday nights we do live from Studio 6B, but this Friday there's something going on, so the warehouse will not be open, but we are open on Saturday for the J6 Road Home event, and that's a beautiful event where you're going to meet Gary McBride and Jenny Cudd. They have homes for the J6 community that were jailed for the 4 years, because what happens when you're jailed for 4 years, you lose everything. They lost their homes, they couldn't pay their bills, they had to pay attorney bills, their wives, some of them divorced, some of them, just broken these people up. So J6 on Saturday night.
That's great. And Joe, I want to thank you for being the guy who brings this, makes this possible, so we can indeed have an alternative voice out there from the liberal mainstream media. And if you want to follow me, folks, look for stevelevy.info and centerforcosteffectivegovernment.org. We will see you next week on the On the Right Side podcast. God bless you. Have a great week. Thanks, Joe.
The America First Warehouse.